One of the first field shoots that we did was at the Capitol. Inside the Capitol, every Friday there are Juma prayers. And the one thing that I noticed is that there were so many different looking people in that room. And I think that that's representative of what the Muslim American population really is. I mean, it's not just Arab Muslim, it's Southeast Asian Muslim, it's white Muslim, it's African American Muslim. And I thought it was a great place to go to be able to illustrate the fact that, you know, this is inside the nation's capital. And these people are Muslim, but they also are American. And they are exercising their right to practice their religion. And when I look at the piece now that we've put together, our three characters actually represent different types of Muslim Americans. Congressman Ellison is an African American Muslim. Corey Saylor, who's the legislative director for CAIR, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations, he's actually a white Muslim who converted at the age of 19. And of course, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, who is an Arab American whose parents were from Syria.
My name is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. I'm the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy and a co-founder of the American Islamic Leadership Coalition. We're a group of patriotic North American Muslims.
Well, I first started reading about Dr. Zuhdi Jasser at the end of January. And I was really intrigued by what I was reading because it was connected to this controversy of this film, The Third Jihad, that was being shown to NYPD recruits. And basically the assertion of the film is that radicalization is happening in Muslim American communities. And I was just very surprised to hear his voice as a narrator. As a Muslim American, I didn't expect him to sort of be saying the things he was saying, so I wanted to know more about him. I noticed that he had done a lot of stuff with Fox News where he spoke about radicalization of Muslim Americans, about why the mosque shouldn't be built near Ground Zero. He was one of the star witnesses of Peter King's radicalization of Muslim America hearings at the Capitol last year. He's been called an Uncle Tom Muslim, an anti-Muslim Muslim. He sees himself more as a reformer of his own faith.
We are not here to criticize the NYPD, but rather to thank them for doing a lot of the work that we as Muslims should be doing, which is monitoring extremism, following extremism, and helping counter the ideologies that create radicalization in our community.
This is a complicated story because you need the time to really exhaust all the different perspectives. And there are many points of view with all valid arguments and concerns. It's about Dr. Zuhdi Jasser and who he really is, or at least what we've gleaned, but it's also about different voices within the Muslim American community and what they see are the problems with Muslim American community. For example, one of the anecdotes that won't make it into the piece, but what I thought was quite provocative, was a story that Corey Saylor, the legislative director for CAIR, told me.
I was in Cleveland shortly after the shootings at Fort Hood. And I was doing a youth training, and a young man came up to me and he said, well, don't you think that what Nida Hassan did was right? And no, I don't, but what to me was very interesting is my first response was to look around and see who was taping it, right? But then I had the conversation, this is why I'm in the room with people like that. He's young, confused definitely on this issue. So I said to him, look, our faith teaches us to follow the laws of the country in which we live. Right? Murdering people is never acceptable. If you don't like the war in Afghanistan, go join the peace movement.
And I think therein lies, at least in Saylor's opinion, what the problems are in the Muslim American community. And that is, you know, you're dealing with the idea that there really is a radical group, a radical element in this community that you have to combat, but you also have to combat the perception and the potential misinterpretation of who you are and what your message is. So, you know, he says very clearly, you know, I knew what my answers were to this young man. I knew that they were right, but I was afraid of what people would, you know, if people were taping, it could be cut up and diced up in lots of different ways to make it look like I was saying something that I wasn't saying. And the misinterpretation is in some Muslim Americans' minds, you know, an incredibly dangerous thing.